Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for standing by for Nio Incorporated's first quarter 2021 earnings conference call. At this time, all participants are in listen-only mode. Today's conference call is being recorded. I will now turn the call over to your host, Ms. Eve Tang from Capital Markets and Investor Relations. Please go ahead, Eve.
Good morning and good evening, everyone. Welcome to Nio's first quarter 2021 earnings conference call. The company's financial and operating results were published in the press release earlier today and are posted at the company's IR website. On today's call, we have Mr. William Li, Founder, Chairman of the Board, and the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Stephen Feng, Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Stanley Qu, VP of Finance, and Ms. Jade Wei, AVP of Capital Markets and Investor Relations. Before we continue, please be kindly reminded that today's discussion will contain forward-looking statements made under the Safe Harbor provisions of the U.S. Private Securities Litigation Reform Act of 1995. Forward-looking statements involve inherent risks and uncertainties. As such, the company's actual results may be materially different from the views expressed today. Further information regarding risks and uncertainties is included in certain filings of the company with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. The company does not assume any obligation to update any forward-looking statements, except as required under the applicable law. Please also note that Nio's earnings press release and this conference call include discussions of unaudited GAAP financial information as well as unaudited non-GAAP financial measures. Please refer to Nio's press release, which contains a reconciliation of the unaudited non-GAAP measures to comparable GAAP measures. With that, I will now turn the call over to our CEO, Mr. William Li. William, please go ahead.
大家好，非常感谢各位参加未来2021年第一季度的季报的电话会议。
Hello everyone, thank you for joining Nio's 2021 Q1 earnings call.
2021年第一季度，未来总共交付了20060辆 ES8、ES6 和 EC6， 同比增长 422.7%， 环比增长 15.6%。三款车型在各自的细分市场都表现出色。EC6 凭借其综合性能、流线型的设计和科技智能体验，表现尤为强劲，受到了广大用户，特别是年轻用户群体的欢迎。
In the first quarter of 2021, Nio delivered 20,060 ES8, ES6, and EC6. Representing a strong year-over-year growth of 422.7% and a solid quarter-over-quarter growth of 15.6%. All three models have achieved outstanding results in their respective segments, especially EC6. With its comprehensive performance, streamlined silhouette, and superior digital experience, EC6 has outperformed other peers in the coupe SUV segment and has been well received among users, especially among the younger audience.
2021年4月7日，蔚来第10万辆量产车下线，第一个5万台，蔚来用了26个月，第二个5万台仅仅用了9个月，蔚来与用户一起创造了高端汽车品牌的全新速度。
On April 7th, 2021, over 100,000 production vehicle was rolled off the line. It took Nio 26 months to roll off the first 50,000 vehicles, but only 9 months for the second 50,000. Together with our users, Nio has set a new speed record from delivering the first vehicle to the 100,000th vehicle among the premium auto brands.
基于不断提升的品牌认知，充满竞争力的产品组合，领先的技术，优质的服务和创新的商业模式，蔚来获得了越来越多用户的支持和认可。我们订单需求持续增长。二季度的主要挑战仍然是全球芯片短缺带来的供应链风险。预计2021年第二季度的总交付量 在21000台到22000台。
Driven by the growing brand awareness, competitive product portfolio, industry-leading technologies, outstanding services, and innovative business models, Nio has gained increasing recognition and support from our users. Our order momentum remains solid, while the risk of a global chip shortage still looms large in the second quarter. Despite the challenges, we expect to deliver 20,000 to 22,000 vehicles in the second quarter.
在毛利率方面，受益持续攀升的交付量和稳中有升的平均成交价，我们一季度的整车毛利率达到 21.2%， 综合毛利率也提升至 19.5%。
In terms of a gross margin, benefited from higher deliveries and solid average selling price. Our vehicle gross margin reached 21.2%, while the overall gross margin increased to 19.5% in the first quarter.
继2020年全年经营活动现金流转正后，我们在2021年第一季度继续实现了正向的经营活动现金流。在持续稳步提升经营效率和整体体系化效率的同时，我们会继续坚定地按计划加大在研发领域的投入，以及加快在充换电网络、线下服务渠道部署上的速度。
On top of the positive operating cash flow for the full year of 2020, we have continued to realize positive cash flow from operating activities in the first quarter of 2021, while steadily improving operating efficiency and overall system efficiency. We remain committed to doubling down on our investments in research and development and stay determined to accelerate the deployment of our swapping and charging network and offline service channels.
接下来我跟大家交流一下公司运营方面的一些重点工作。
Next, I would like to share with you some recent key operational highlights of the company.
蔚来首款智能电动旗舰轿车 ET7 在 Nio Day 发布后，受到了用户和产业界的热切关注。目前 ET7 的生产制造和测试工作在紧锣密鼓的推进中。4月2日 ，ET7 的首台生产线车身在合肥先进制造基地正式下线。4月19日的上海车展上 ，ET7 的内饰首次公开亮相，全面展示了 ET7 第二起居室的设计理念，受到了媒体和公众的广泛好评。
After the launch of ET7, our first flagship smart electric sedan at the Nio Day, it has attracted great attention from the market and the industry. Our teams are fully focused on and devoted to the production and testing of ET7. On April 2nd, the first body-in-white of ET7 rolled off the production line in Hefei Manufacturing Center. On April 19th, the interior of ET7 was unveiled at the Shanghai Auto Show, showcasing its second living room design concept, which has been well received by the media and the public.
4月15日，我们的二代换电站开始部署。二代换电站电池仓可容纳多达13块电池，单站的日服务能力可达312次，进一步缩短了换电的时间。我们在4月发布的 Nio OS 2.10 中，对二代换电站进行了适配，二代换电全程无需下车，所有车辆升级完成后可以实现一键自动泊入以及一键自助换电。作为未来充换电体系的重要一环，二代换电站接下来在全国范围内会逐步上线。
On April 15th, we kicked off the deployment of the Power Swap Station 2.0. The second generation Power Swap Station can significantly boost its service capacity to up to 312 swaps per day by shortening the battery swapping time and carrying up to 13 battery packs. To further improve the swapping experience, we upgraded and optimized our new palette based on the Power Swap Station 2.0 in Nio OS 2.10, which was released to users in April to achieve an automatic one-click park and swap experience. without getting off the car throughout the whole swapping process. All new users can enjoy this feature once they have updated their vehicle operating system. As an organic part of Nio's holistic charging and swapping network, the Power Swap Station 2.0 will be gradually deployed nationwide in China.
未来致力于打造车电分离、电池租用、可充可换可升级的创新体系。随着用户对 BAS 的了解加深，电池包选择的日益丰富 ，BAS 受到越来越多用户的青睐。我们相信 BAS 和未来不断完善的充换电服务体系，会持续提升电动汽车用户的用车体验，让越来越多的用户选择电动汽车。此外，100度电电池包推出以来，受到了广大用户的认可，选购率超过了我们的预期。截至4月16日，已经有超过1万位用户正在使用100度电池包。4月18日，我们也正式开放预定，按年灵活升级100度电池包，并将于6月正式开启服务。
Nio has created an innovative battery subscription model based on vehicle battery separation and chargeable, swappable, and upgradable batteries. As more users get to know better about the benefits of battery as a service or BaaS, and more battery pack options become available, BaaS has gained increasing popularity. We believe BaaS and Nio's growing charging and swapping network will further elevate the user experience of owning an electric vehicle and attract more users to choose electric vehicles. In addition, since its launch, the 100 kWh battery pack has been widely welcomed by our users with a much higher take rate than we expected. As of April 16, more than 10,000 users have been using the 100 kWh battery pack. On April 18, we have also officially made the flexible upgrade to 100 kWh battery pack available for reservation, and will offer this upgrade service to users starting from June.
产能方面，3月底4月初，受芯片短缺影响，江淮未来工厂暂停了5个工作日的生产，这对我们4月份的生产和交付产生了一定负面影响。2季度全供应链的整体产能仍将持续面临巨大的挑战。我们与合作伙伴一起，在全力以赴保证供应。在停工和假日期间，我们和合作伙伴一起对工厂产线进行了改造，为 ET7 的量产做好准备。
In terms of production capacity, late March and early April, due to the semiconductor supply shortfall, JAC Nio factory halted the production for 5 working days, which has posed a certain negative impact on our production and delivery in April. In the second quarter, we expect the challenges to the overall supply chain production capacity will continue to linger. In spite of the volatile micro environment, we are working closely and diligently with our partners to secure supply chain resources. During the production suspension period and holidays, our partners and us have modified our production lines to prepare for the mass production of ET7.
此前，蔚来与合肥市签署了深化合作协议，并宣布共同在新桥建设智能电动汽车产业园区。2021年4月29日，也就是昨天，我们参加了新桥产业园区的开工仪式，并召开了合作伙伴大会。蔚来致力于与合作伙伴一起，从人才、研发、产业链和制造等方面助力合肥智能电动汽车产业的发展。
Not long ago, Nio signed further collaboration framework agreement with the Hefei government and announced to jointly build the Nio Park, a smart electric vehicle industrial park in Xinqiao. On April 29, 2021, Nio participated in the kickoff ceremony of the Nio Park and organized the Nio Partner Conference 2021 in Hefei. Nio strives to collaborate with partners in talent attraction and cultivation, research and development, supply chain and manufacturing to facilitate the development of a smart electric vehicle in Hefei.
为了支持后续产品的生产，我们将与合作伙伴一起在新桥智能产业园区筹建第二工厂，正在与合作伙伴就实施细节和最终的合作模式进行商讨，会适时和大家分享最新的进展。
To further support the production of Nio's future models, together with our partners, we will plan and build a new factory in Nio Park. We are in discussion with our partners about the detailed execution plan and the cooperation model, and will share more information at an appropriate time.
销售和服务网络方面，我们现有23个未来中心和211个未来空间，覆盖中国123个城市。我们会继续加强未来中心和未来空间的建设，扩大销售网络覆盖，提高运营效率，提升品牌影响力。
With regards to the sales and service network, we now have 23 new houses and 211 new spaces, covering 123 cities in China. We'll continue to strengthen the building of new houses and new spaces to further expand the sales network coverage, improve operational efficiency, and enhance brand influence.
未来换电站已经建成206座，覆盖77个城市。我们已经开始逐步部署2代换电站，目标是今年将换电站总量增加到至少500个。与此同时，我们将加大超充网络和目的地充电桩的建设。截至目前，我们已经在全国累计部署超过了146座超充站和1826根目的地充电桩，计划2021年底分别达到600座和15000根。
Nio has built 206 swap stations in 77 cities. We have gradually started the deployment of Power Swap Station 2.0. We aim to have at least 500 battery swap stations in operation by the end of this year. At the same time, we will ramp up the availability of power chargers, our supercharging piles, and the destination chargers. Up until now, we have deployed over 146 power charger stations and 1,826 destination chargers, and plan to increase to 600 and 15,000 respectively by the end of 2021.
4月15日，蔚来与中国石化正式签署了战略合作协议，双方将携手共建充换电基础设施。这一战略合作将有效保障未来充换电基础设施的选址资源，提升电动汽车用户的体验，有利于进一步转换燃油车的用户。
On April 15, Nio signed a strategic cooperation agreement with Sinopec to work together on building battery charging and swapping infrastructure. This strategic collaboration will enhance efficiency of site selection for Nio's charging and swapping facilities, better users' experience of owning an EV, and help convert more gasoline car users to EVs.
为了让中国北方的电动汽车用户享受到更加便捷的充换电服务，在今年的上海车展上，我们发布了 Power North 计划。在未来3年内，我们计划在中国北方8个省区部署100座换电站、120辆移动充电车、500座超充站、超过2000根超充桩以及1万根目的地充电桩。我们相信 Power North 将极大地改善北方地区的电动汽车的使用体验，促进北方地区智能电动汽车的普及。
In the meantime, to provide users in the northern China regions better and more convenient charging and swapping services, we announced the Power North Plan at this year's Shanghai Auto Show. In the next 3 years, in the 8 northern provinces and autonomous regions, we plan to deploy 100 power swap stations, 120 power mobiles, 500 power charger stations with over 2,000 power chargers, and 10,000 destination chargers. We believe the Power North Plan will significantly improve the electric vehicle usage experience for users in the north and further catalyze the adoption of smart electric vehicles in those areas.
目前我们有33家未来服务中心 ,162家授权服务中心。基于不断提升的运营效率 ,2021年我们会继续扩大售后服务网点的布局，进一步改善售后服务体系。
Up to now, we have 33 new service centers and 162 authorized service centers in operation, coupled with continuously improving operational efficiency. We will keep expanding our after-sales service network and further improve the service operation system.
作为一家用户企业，用户的信任和支持是最宝贵的资源，也是我们不断进步的动力所在。在刚刚结束的上海车展，来自不同城市的180位车主志愿者在未来展台向观众介绍未来的理念、产品、技术和服务。15位未来用户和行业专家共同发起了14场细致的演讲，探讨科技智能创造的愉悦生活方式。还有更多的用户将自己创作的艺术作品陈列在了上海车展的未来用户博物馆，让更多人感受未来创造的生活方式。
As a user enterprise, the trust and the support of our users has always been our most treasured resources and the driving force of our growth. At the just concluded Shanghai Auto Show, 180 user volunteers from different cities came to our booth to introduce the concept, product, technology, and service of Nio to others. 15 Nio users collaborated with experts from various industries to jointly host 14 sessions of this talk to discuss how to shape a joyful lifestyle with smart technologies. Many users displayed their original artworks at the Nio User Museum at our auto show booth, through which they shared the joyful lifestyle Nio advocates and shapes.
2020年，在用户的支持和团队的努力下，未来总体经营步入正轨，并进入了加速发展阶段。2021年是未来发展里程至关重要的一年，我们会进一步提升充换电与销售服务网络的建设，扩大未来品牌影响力，为未来用户提供最好的全程体验。更为重要的是，我们会坚定地加强新产品和新技术的研发投入，为长远稳固的发展打下坚实的基础。
With the support from our users and the efforts of our teams in 2020, Nio has stepped onto the right track for the overall operations and has embarked onto the stage of accelerated development. The year of 2021 is of key importance for Nio's development. We will further improve the establishment of power, sales, and service networks to enhance Nio's brand reputation and provide the best holistic experience to Nio users. More importantly, we'll continue our decisive and efficient investment in new product and technology research and development to solidify the foundation for Nio's long-term growth.
感谢大家的支持。现在 Steven 将为大家介绍第一季度的财务业绩，有请 Steven。
As always, thank you for your support. With that, I will now turn the call over to Steven to provide the financial details for the quarter. Steven, please go ahead.
Thank you, Vivian. I will now go over our key financial results for the first quarter of 2021. And to be mindful of the length of this call, I encourage listeners to refer to our earnings press release, which is posted online for additional details. Our total revenues in the first quarter were 7.98 billion RMB, or $1.22 billion, representing an increase of 481.8% year-over-year, an increase of 20.2% quarter-over-quarter. Our total revenues are made of two parts: vehicle sales and other sales. Vehicle sales in the first quarter was 7.41 billion RMB, or $1.13 billion, accounting for 93% of total revenues in this quarter. It represented an increase of 489.8% year-over-year, an increase of 20% quarter-over-quarter. The increase in vehicle sales year-over-year was mainly attributed to higher deliveries achieved from more product mix offered to our users, the expansion of our sales network since 2020, and the slowdown of vehicle sales in the first quarter of 2020 due to COVID-19 pandemic in China. The increase in vehicle sales quarter-over-quarter was mainly due to higher deliveries and higher average selling price. Other sales in the first quarter were 576.5 million RMB, or $88 million, representing an increase of 395.3% year-over-year, an increase of 23.4% quarter-over-quarter. The increase in other sales year-over-year was in line with the incremental vehicle sales in the first quarter of 2021. The increase in other sales quarter-over-quarter was mainly due to the increased revenues derived from 100 kWh battery permanent upgrade service provided since December 2020, partially offset by sales of automotive regulatory credits in the fourth quarter of 2020. Cost of sales in the first quarter was 6.343 billion RMB, or $0.98 billion, representing an increase of 370.5% year-over-year, an increase of 16.9% quarter-over-quarter. The increase in cost of sales was in line with revenue growth, which was mainly driven by the increase of vehicle delivery volume in the first quarter of 2021. Gross profit in the first quarter was 1.55 billion RMB, or $0.24 billion, representing an increase of 1.72 billion RMB from a gross loss of 0.17 billion RMB in the same quarter of 2020, an increase of 36.2% from the fourth quarter of 2020. The increase in gross profit was mainly contributed by increased vehicle sales and increased vehicle margin. Gross margin in the first quarter was 19.5%, compared with negative 12.2% in the same quarter of 2020 and 17.2% in the fourth quarter of 2020. The increase of gross margin was mainly driven by the increase of vehicle margin in the first quarter of 2021. More specifically, vehicle margin in the first quarter was 21.2%, compared with negative 7.4% in the same quarter of 2020 and 17.2% in the fourth quarter of 2020. The increase of vehicle margin year-over-year was mainly driven by the increase of vehicle delivery volume, higher average selling price, as well as lower material cost. The increase of vehicle margin quarter-over-quarter was mainly attributed to higher take rate of Nio Pilot and 100 kWh battery package. R&D expenses in the first quarter were 686.5 million RMB, or $104.8 million, representing an increase of 31.4% year-over-year and a decrease of 17.2% quarter-over-quarter. The increase of R&D expenses year-over-year was mainly attributed to less R&D research and development activities in the first quarter of 2020 due to COVID-19 pandemic in China. The decrease in R&D expenses quarter-over-quarter reflected fluctuations due to different design and development stages of new products and core technologies. SG&A expenses in the first quarter were 1.2 billion RMB, or $0.18 billion, representing an increase of 41.1% year-over-year and a decrease of 0.8% quarter-over-quarter. The increase in SG&A expenses year-over-year was primarily due to the increased marketing activities as well as increased number of employees in sales and service functions in the first quarter of 2021. SG&A expenses remained relatively stable compared to the fourth quarter of 2020. Loss for operations in the first quarter was 295.9 million RMB, or $45.2 million, representing a decrease of 81.2% year-over-year and a decrease of 68.2% quarter-over-quarter. Share-based compensation expenses in the first quarter were 96.1 million RMB, or $14.7 million, representing an increase of 198.1% year-over-year and increase of 60.3% quarter-over-quarter. The increase in share-based compensation expenses was primarily attributed to incremental options granted to relatively higher grant date fair values during the period. Net loss in the first quarter was 451 million RMB, or $68.8 million, representing a decrease of 73.3% year-over-year and a decrease of 67.5% quarter-over-quarter. Net loss attributable to Nio's ordinary shareholders in the first quarter was 4.88 billion RMB, or $0.474 billion, representing an increase of 183% year-over-year, an increase of 226.7% quarter-over-quarter. In the first quarter of 2021, Nio purchased 3.305% equity interest in Nio China from the minority strategic investors and recorded an amount of 4.4 billion RMB, or $0.67 billion in accretion on redeemable non-controlling interests to redemption value. Excluding share-based compensation expenses and accretion on redeemable non-controlling interests to redemption value, non-GAAP adjusted net loss attributable to Nio ordinary shareholders was 354.5 million RMB, or $54.1 million in the first quarter of 2021. Basic and diluted net loss per ADS in the first quarter were both 3.14 RMB, or 48 cents per ADS. Excluding share-based compensation expenses and accretion on redeemable non-controlling interests to redemption value, non-GAAP adjusted basic and diluted net loss per ADS were both 0.23 RMB, or 4 cents per ADS. Our balance of cash and cash equivalents, restricted cash, and short-term investment was 47.5 billion RMB, or $7.3 billion as of March 31st, 2021. Additionally, we achieved positive cash flow from operating activities for the first quarter of 2021. And now for our business outlook. As William mentioned, for the second quarter of 2021, the company expects deliveries to be between 21,000 and 22,000 vehicles, representing an increase of approximately 103% to 113% from the same quarter of 2020, an increase of approximately 5 to 10% from the first quarter of 2021. The company also expects the total revenues of the second quarter of 2021 to be between 8.15 and 8.50 billion RMB, or between $1.24 and $1.30 billion. This will represent an increase of approximately 119% to 128.7% from the same quarter of 2020, an increase of approximately 2.1% to 6.5% from the first quarter of 2021. This outlook reflects the company's current and the preliminary view on the business situation and market condition, which is subject to change. Now, this concludes our prepared remarks. I will now turn the call over to the operator to facilitate our Q&A session.
As a reminder, to ask a question, you will need to press star 1 on your telephone. To withdraw your question, please press the pound or hash key. Please stand by while we compile the Q&A roster. For the benefit of all participants on today's call, please limit yourself to 2 questions. And if you have additional questions, you can re-enter the queue. Our first question comes from the line of Nick Lai. Please ask your question.
Yes, good morning, William and Stephen and management team. Congratulations for a great result. My simple 2 questions. First one is on gross margin, and second one is really on chip shortage. Common question raised by many investors. On gross margin, indeed a very good improvement from 4Q last year to 1Q this year. The vehicle margin increased from roughly 17% to 21%. And of that 4 percentage point improvement, I wonder if you could help us quantify a little bit the underlying driver, how much percentage is driven by ASP, volume, and on the flip side, raw material price, battery, and so on. So 我第一题问题我就很快翻译一下，就是我们17% 的这个 vehicle margin， 去年4Q 到今年1Q 是20%， 可不可以帮我们就是拆解一下，就是多了解一下就一些数字，就中间的有多少部分是比如说量的上升 ，ASP 上升，然后 on the other hand 就比如说 raw material price 原物料的短缺。That's my first question. And second question on the chip shortage is a common issue, and I know visibility is very low, 2 to 3 months, and at the same time we did revise down slightly our 2Q sales volume guidance from previously William mentioned 7,500 per month in 2Q, and right now it's roughly about 21 to 22,000 in 2Q. And on the chip shortage, do we have any visibility on the potential easing of supply? Would that happen hopefully in 3Q? 我第二题就是有关这个晶片短缺，这是行业比较普遍的现象。这个晶片问题全部解决可能要到2022年的事情了。那我想说就是我们在看到这个从这个短缺到紧张，这个拐点大概会什么时候出现？谢谢。就这2个简单问题。
好，谢谢 Nick。Stanley 会回答第一个问题，我回答第二个问题。
Okay, hi Nick, this is Stanley. Overall, our vehicle cost, including BOM and also manufacturer cost, remains stable in Q1 2021, and the increase of vehicle margin are mainly driven by the increase of take rate of 100 kilowatt battery pack, and also the Nio Pilot, of which 5,000 is for the 100 kilowatt battery pack, and 8,000 is for the Nio Pilot take rate. So the overall 100 battery pack take rate in Q1 is 25, and we think this trend will keep in the following quarters. So that's the general reason of why we achieved a higher gross profit margin in Q1. Okay, William.
Yeah. 所以总体上来讲，毛利率我们认为 Q1 确实比我们自己预期的也要高一些啊。那当然刚才Stanley也讲了，主要是一些高配车型的这个比例的增加。当然成本的话也有一些下降，这个就是常规的一些下降。那我们觉得20以上的一个毛利率的话呢，是已经到了我们认为还比较健康的一个状态啊。我们因为我们也不降价，我们其实这个总体上我们认为现在还比较 comfortable 啊。但是确实我们也不要预期我们会还会像去年这样每个季度都提升好几个百分点。那当然我们认为还有一定的提升空间，但是总体上来说，我们对这个也希望大家对这个提升的这个预期啊，不要太乐观。这个我们认为毛利率现在我们还是觉得不错的，20多的毛利率嘛，我们认为其实比我们预期到的要早一些啊。当然我们还是会把产品和服务把它做好，这对我们来说还是最重要的。
Overall speaking, the gross margin in the first quarter of 2021 is higher than our expectation. Just like Stanley mentioned, this is mainly driven by the higher take rate of some options like the 100 kWh battery pack and the Nio pellets. At the same time, the cost has also reduced to some extent. We believe that the current gross margin, around 20%, is a very healthy situation for the company's operations. Because we don't actually cut the price, and we believe this is quite comfortable for us. But at the same time, I would like to urge everyone to manage your expectations, because this kind of rapid improvement of the gross margin will be quite challenging for us. But I believe there will still be room for improvement for the gross margin, but not at this big margin. So we should not be too optimistic about the gross margin improvement. We believe right now it's quite good for us to reach 20% of the gross margin, and it's earlier than we expected. Still, our focus of the company is the product and the service.
Nick 的第二个问题就是芯片短缺的问题。我们实事求是的讲，我们现在这个市场波动的还是非常厉害，我们每一天都要去跟踪这个 chip 的 shortage 对于供应链的影响，因为汽车的产业链非常的长。大家知道这个瑞萨的这个工厂，日本的工厂前一段时间有一个失火那它有大概是有几个星期的一个停产。那么这个因为它对整个供应链它有一个延迟，那么这件事情差不太多在5月的中旬会影响到这个全球的这个汽车的这个产业链那我们现在当然从我们来讲的话呢，类似于这样的事情吧，其实现在在整个这个行业它就时有发生，这个确实挑战是非常大的。我们从目前来讲的话呢，我们看到3月底4月初我们已经停产了5天，这个对于4月份呢肯定交付会有一点影响。那么从这个整个季度来讲的话呢，我们现在是全供应链的产能，我们是认为呢，如果我们能够在7000到7500之间的话，对我们来说已经是很大的一个挑战了我们当然在全力以赴的去做，我们还是有信心的但是这个难度还是非常大的。当然这个拐点的话呢，现在行业总体上来说大体上认为3季度会好一些，会到4季度那应该是会比较全面的好转。当然也有一些更悲观的，觉得明年都没戏明年都会有很大的压力。但总体上来讲的话呢，我们呢这个供应链的合作伙伴对我们还是非常支持的。像昨天我们召开了合作伙伴大会我们的合作伙伴们这个来了几百家的合作伙伴，大家都还是非常希望能够支持未来的生产所以总体上这是个全行业的挑战嘛。我们总体上so far 我们做的还 OK， 跟别人相比的话。
好的，谢谢威廉。
The second question is about the chip shortage. The current situation in the market is quite volatile, and we have been tracking the chip supply every day. This has been a very severe issue for the whole industry supply chain. For example, the fire incident of one factory has caused several days delays for the chip shortage, and we believe this negative impact is going to kick in around the middle of May, and this is going to affect the whole industry supply chain. We believe this kind of incident will happen from time to time. That is why we believe the challenge for the whole industry will still be quite big for the following quarters or months. At the beginning of April and at the end of March, we suspended the production of our factory for 5 working days, which is going to impact our delivery and production in April. For the full quarter, we believe that it will be possible, but still quite challenging for us to achieve 7,000 to 7,500 production units. we are trying our best to secure the supply and to maintain the production speed. Of course, we are quite confident, but the challenge is still quite daunting. This is a common situation for the whole industry. The common understanding in the industry is the turning point will happen around the third quarter, and the overall situation is going to improve around the fourth quarter. But some some also believes that probably this situation is going to continue to next year. Our supply chain partners have shown very strong support to the production of Nio. Yesterday, we had our partner conference in Hefei, which was attended by hundreds of partners to show their support of Nio's production. And we believe the situation is quite challenging, but overall speaking, our operation is relatively okay.
Thank you, Nick.
Our next question comes from the line of Bin. Thank you. Our next question comes from the line of Bin Wang from Credit Suisse. Please ask your question.
Thank you so much. Actually, got two questions. Number one is that I found that you have another announcement about ESG. Can you elaborate what's the detail and why you host another ESG, maybe for the first time? That's number one question. EGA, sorry. On the second question about the margin outlook. Actually, I found that a few factors may be impact the second quarter. One is the Nio pilot attach rate. Second is what's the penetration about the 100 kilowatt-hour pack. Number three is that I found that you offer a free interest rate auto finance. Number four, maybe in the semiconductor pricing hike, because not just the supply, but also the pricing also increase. Notably, lastly is about the battery price. Can you provide guidance about the direction about the margin and the other key parts movements? Thank you.
好，谢谢王斌。对，我们在昨天的话，我们有一个这个公告，我们要召开一个 EGM， 在今天的早上。我们这个里面比较重要的一个是对我们董事会呢的这个结构呢，这个人数啊，主要是人数上我们会有所增加。大家知道Nio 现在的董事会人数是我们希望增加一些多样化增加一些灵活性那么在中间呢，这个是比较重要的是我们给予了这个Nio User Trust 一个提名一个董事的一个权利当然这个整个董事的 approve 还是会 follow 这个董事会的这个决策那并不是说一个任命的权利，是一个提名的这样的一个权利。因为大家知道我们在上市的时候，我呢将自己1/3的股票5000万股的股票，那么成立了一个未来的用户信托。那么我们已经这个进行了2届的用户信托的理事的选举，那么用户参与度也是非常高的。那么我们用户信托的这个整个的这个重点呢是这个包括用户关怀、行业的社群、社会的公益和环境的保护。那我们认为是合适的时候给到用户在公司更长远的这种战略决策方面一定的参与的权利。所以呢，我们董事会呢是提请这个股东会进行这样的一个批准那么这一次我相信呢，这个对公司的长远的发展和股东的回报来讲的话，都是有非常重要的意义的。这个也是未来作为一家用户企业进一步深化我们用户企业的这个运营就是和这个用户企业的这个更深入的去理解这个用户企业很好的一个方向吧。
Thanks for your question. At this morning, we announced that we are going to organize a EGM. There are some important points in this EGM that we're going to discuss. The first one is we're going to increase the number of the directors in the board. Right now, our board member is 5 people, and we would like to increase this number because we want to improve the diversity and the flexibility of the board. At the same time, another important matter is we would like to give the user trust the right to nominate directors to the board. But this is a nomination right, is not a appointment right. So the board will still have the power to appoint the directors. At the IPO of the company, I have transferred 1/3 of my shares to establish this user trust. And the user trust focus is on environmental protection, the industry subcommittees, the social welfare, and the user care. We believe it's quite important for us to allow the user trust to participate in the decision-making process of the company, which is a very important strategy for the company. That is why we would like to propose this in the EGM. From this proposal, we believe it's going to be quite beneficial for the long-term development of the company, and it's going to serve the best interest of our shareholders. This also showcases our mission of building and the vision of building a user enterprise, which will also help us to deepen our relationship with users for the long run.
第二个问题是Stanley在
Okay. Hi, Wang Ming. As explained by William in the prior questions, and 20% gross profit margin is quite healthy at the current stage for us. So we don't expect the margin will dramatically improve in this year, like quarter-on-quarter in 2020. But the 100 kWh battery pack and also the new power features are both well accepted by our users, and we expect these two options will further bring the high profit margin for us. Yeah, that's the general trends we want to explain to you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. 对，好，谢谢王斌，谢谢。
Thank you. Next question.
Our next question comes from the line of Tim Hsiao from Morgan Stanley. Please ask your question.
Thanks for taking my questions and congratulations on the results. So 2 questions from my side. The first question is about competition because as you may notice that a lot of traditional players launched their models during Auto Show this year. So if you look at their product pricing channel strategy, I think they are quick learners and catching up rapidly. Meanwhile, several tech names or smartphone makers also announced their EV plans. So I think William has shared a lot of initiatives during the call just now. But what will really make a Nio to stay differentiated in the following years? Are we going to change our pricing or product strategy in the mid to long term? So that's my first question. And second question is about the launch of ET7, because William just mentioned, I think the supply dynamics stay tight and might stay challenged throughout the whole year. Considering like a more back-loaded second half, do we see any risk that the launch of ET7 might be delayed or face any production bottleneck? Especially, I think ET7 carry quite a lot of new hardware and software features. Where could be the potential bottleneck in your view? So, thank you.
好，谢谢 Tim。对这一次的上海车展呢，确实我们看到了中国的智能电动汽车产业的一个活力啊，就是如果你去看了这个上海车展的话，你就知道中国的这个创新，特别是在智能电动汽车这个领域的创新啊，是非常的有活力的。
In this year's Shanghai Auto Show, we have witnessed the vitality of the China smart EV industry. If you have ever visited the Shanghai Auto Show this year, you should have seen this by yourself. That is, we have a lot of innovations in the smart electric vehicle industry in China.
对，但从一个总体的竞争力的角度来讲的话呢， 我们对于这个Nio 在我们所在的这个市场细分市场的这个竞争还是非常非常有信心的。那我们如果我们去看在我们在的这个高端市场的这个领域，我们 still 还是并没有看到一个能够和 Nio 有全面的竞争能力的品牌。我说的全面竞争力的说话，包括产品包括服务体系包括技术，包括这个整个的用户体验全面的竞争，我们 still 还是还有 community 整个用户的社区，我们并没有看到一个真正有竞争力的竞争对手。
In terms of the overall competitiveness, Nio is still quite confident in our specific market segment. In the premium market, we haven't seen any brand with this kind of competitiveness yet in terms of the product, service, technology, user experience, and user community.
Yeah. 如果我们去看传统的这些汽车公司推出的高端的品牌推出的这样一些产品，当然他们有他们的一些某个方面的一些亮点但是从整个智能化的程度、自动驾驶的能力从这个角度来讲的话，我觉得他们要变革的决心可能还需要更大一些。
For the traditional brands, yes, there have been some highlights for their premium brands and premium products, but still I believe that they're still lagging behind in terms of the digital experience and autonomous driving capabilities. So it will be quite important for them to be more decisive and determined to transform themselves into this new era of a smart electric vehicle.
那中国的企业呢，他们在一些技术的应用方面他们在这个包括follow 未来在用户的社区、用户的企业的搭建方面包括这个直接服务用户的模式方面有一些 follow 他们确实行动也是非常快，但是honest 讲我认为做一个高端的品牌其实还是有比较高的门槛的。那他们在定价方面的话，我认为这是他们的一个压力吧，就是说他们的在一个20多万人民币左右的这样20多万人民币的一个定价是有一点有在这个市场的话，品牌的定位方面的话是有一定的挑战的那我们当然我们认为这个汽车行业不是一个 winner takes all 的行业，我们现在最关注的地方还是我们对高端市场的市场占有率。那从一个电车和油车的比例的角度来讲的话，那电车 still 还是一个很小的比例。虽然中国在3月份第一次过了10%这个电动车过了10%但是整个行业还是更多的还是汽油车。那我觉得从这一点上来讲的话，我们还有非常大的一个空间。
Of course, there have been many domestic players following Nio in terms of the technology adoption, user community concept, and direct service to users. They have been moving very fast as followers, but I believe it will be quite challenging and difficult for them to build a premium brand, and they will face a significant pressure in terms of their pricing. Of course, the auto market is not a winner-takes-all market, but our focus at this moment is still in the premium market. In this market, we can see that the EV still accounts a small share compared with that of the gasoline cars. Although in March, the EV penetration has reached 10%, but the majority of the vehicles in the market are still gasoline cars. So it means that we still have a lot of room and opportunities for growth.
对，所以从长期差异化的角度来讲的话，我们仍然认为这是一个汽车行业的特点是你不能有短板就是我们认为 Nio 的这个产品技术、品牌、服务 用户、企业、用户的运营，那么 community 它是一个整体啊。我们认为我们整体的这样的一个优势，能够让我们在一个长期的竞争中竞争力会越来越强。其实并不是说越来越弱。
When it comes to the long-term differentiation, we believe in the auto industry it's quite important that you should not have any very significant and obvious weaknesses. With our comprehensive competitiveness in product, technology, service, user operations, and user community, we believe we can solidify our position in the market with all those strengths and stood out in the competition. This differentiator and the competitiveness is going to continue to grow and stay strong in the long run.
对，这是个长跑，并不是一个短跑。我们还是越来越有信心的。
This is a marathon. This is not a sprint. So we're quite confident in our long-term competition.
那第二个问题就是 ET7 的量产啊。那确实 ET7 我们认为它是一个对未来来说是我们第二代平台的第一款车。那并不是仅仅是这辆车的这个生产，事实上也意味着我们整个第二代平台的开始量产。那我们在传感器、在芯片算力方面，在很多新的技术应用方面的话呢，我们在整个行业都是第一个啊。那当然也有一些公司推出了一些一代半的产品，就是我们不觉得那件事情值得做，我们其实是直接是一个 breakthrough 的一个。直接到了 next generation 的，那么那这个量产的这个 challenge 肯定是非常大的，比如说这个 LiDAR 那也包括我们的这个自动驾驶芯片的合作伙伴 Orin 的这个英伟达的 Orin 的这个量产，那我们事实上都是比他们原来预期的计划要求我们一起把他们提前了很长的时间。那这个压力还是非常大的，但 so far 的话，我们还是认为在明年的 Q1 去交付 ET7 是可能的啊，也是我们的这个目前我们各方面都是往这个方面去推动的。那所以主要是在这些方面嘛，我们怎么样这个达到我们的质量的目标，然后突破这些产能的瓶颈这个怎么样去 ramp up 啊？那我们大家也知道，未来推出产品的速度。在过去几年证明，我们每年推出一款新的产品，这个能力还是非常强的啊。那我们的产品的质量也一直在行业里面都是排在这个第一名的一个位置，所以我们对这个量产的这个爬升我们还是非常有信心。
The second question is about the mass production of ET7. ET7 will be the first product on our second generation platform, Nio Technology Platform 2.0. So it means that this is not just about the production of ET7, it's actually about the mass production of the second generation platform. We are the first in many aspects, for example, the advanced sensors, computing power, SoC chipset, and other advanced technology applications. Some companies have launched their product with some kind of like a 1.5 generation technology or transitional technology, which is not going to be our strategy, because we would like to just leap forward to the next generation technology and achieve significant technology breakthroughs. Of course, this kind of determination is going to raise a lot of challenges for us. For example, we have put ahead the production schedule of many advanced technologies like the LiDAR and the NVIDIA Orin SoC. This has posed a lot of pressure on our teams and the partners, but we are still quite confident that we believe it's possible for us to launch ET7 according to schedule in the first quarter of next year. Our teams and our partners are fully focused on achieving this goal and pushing ahead despite all those challenges. Our objective is to make sure we can deliver the product according to our quality requirement and solve the production bottlenecks, so we can gradually ramp up the production and the delivery of our vehicles to the users. So as the history tells us that NIO has a very strong capabilities to deliver one new product every year, and our quality has already been proven that we are at the top. So that's why we're quite confident that we should be able to deliver ET7 according to the schedule with high quality.
Thank you, team.
Thank you very much, William and Jay.
Next question.
Our next question comes from the line of Ming Sun Lee from BofA Securities. Please ask your question.
Thank you, William and the management team, and congrats for the good results. So my first question is regarding the details of the NIO Park. So from the announcement that we saw that NIO Park ultimately it will reach 1 million units capacity. So I want to understand that probably your near-term plan for this NIO Park is 1 million capacity. All for NIO, or probably will have other EV companies. And also for this NIO Park cooperation, will the current cooperation method continue? JAC build a plant and hire laborers, but NIO will purchase the equipment and the mold, etc. So that's my question. And the second question is regarding the battery form factor. So we are seeing more and more auto companies start to apply LFP battery to further control the cost, lower the selling price, and to increase the penetration rate. From the recent media, we also saw that NIO will probably consider to use LFP battery by the end of the year. So could you give us more update regarding the potential plan? Thank you, William and the management.
好，谢谢 Min。对，昨天我想这个是非常重要的一件事情，就是合肥市启动了 Nio Park 的这个建设。我想提醒大家注意一下，是 NEO Park， 不是 NIO Park 这个。那这个它的中文名字叫新桥大概如果用英语去说的话，大概是 New Bridge， 大概是这，因为它和合肥的这个机场是一个名字。那么这个是非常大的一个 park， 这个 park 的话呢，有将近17000亩吧，那么 11.3 平方公里是非常大的一个 park。
Thank you for your question, Ming. Yesterday is quite important because Hefei government has kicked off the building of the new park. But over here, I would like to emphasize the spelling of this park is NEO, it's not NIO. The Chinese name of this industrial park is Xinqiao, or the literal translation is New Bridge. This bears the same name with the Hefei Airport. This is a very big park, occupies a huge area.
17000亩 1.7万亩 11.3 平方公里。
It is
你就11.3平方公里。
It is around 11.3 square meters.
Yeah， 对，这个园区的话呢，它是一个这里面有研发有这个智能制造也包括甚至也包括一些生活和一些文化的这样一些区域。那毫无疑问 ，NIO 会是其中最重要的一家企业但是也会有按照他们的规划，也还有其他的几百家这个相关的产业链上相关的企业会入驻。
This industrial park will be a massive project, including manufacturing facilities, R&D, and residential areas, as well as culture areas. Nio is going to be a very important company in this park, but according to the planning of the Hefei government, they will also have probably hundreds of other companies joining this new park.
对，当然这个我们是和合肥市一起来规划的这个 Nio Park 我们当然参与了很多它的规划。那我们并不会去出资去参与这个园区的一些基础设施的建设，就整个园区它有很多的基础设施需要建那这个当然是会由合肥他们去投资去建设，当然我们会是非常重要的使用方。你刚才问的这个问题，如果说这100万的这个产能100万辆整车的产能，100吉瓦时的电池的这样的一个产能，那会不会都给到 Nio？ 我只能说，如果我们发展的够快，那 suppose 那如果我们发展的我们用得了这么多的话，那我觉得他们应该不会把事情复杂化就是应该就会是我们来去使用这个工厂的基础设施当然这个这是规划和实际的使用还是有区别的，这个肯定是一步一步的去建设的。那我们就像我前面讲的，我们毫无疑问会是这中间最重要的企业。那么对于我们的意义是什么呢？如果这个汽车产业链的这样的一些人才聚集的话，对于增加这个我们的竞争力肯定是非常有帮助的。就像我们在上海，我们在安亭的汽车的创新港，我们是第一家企业，当然现在也是里面最大的一家企业。那现在就汇聚了非常多的人，那这个现在所有的这个创业的公司都往那边去，这当然是一件好事另外还有一个非常大的好处的话呢，就是提升我们的运营效率包括内部的运营效率如果我们的研发、我们的制造、我们的甚至于这个员工的这个居住都能够在一个更小的一个区域去做的话，对于整个内部运营效率的提升是非常大的。还有一个就是供应链的这个物流的效率我们举一个例子，按照我们现在的规划，要不你先翻译一下。
For the planning of the Hefei government regarding the Nio Park, Nio is not going to invest on the infrastructure building of the park. Hefei government is going to make this investment, but Nio is going to be a very important company using this park. Just now you asked about the capacity of the 1 million units and the 100 gigawatt hour. Whether this is only for Nio or whether this is going to be available for other companies. Of course, if Nio is going to develop in a very fast speed, then I believe that the Hefei government is not going to make this matter very complicated for Nio and themselves. Then it means that Nio should be able to use all the resources and the capacities and all the infrastructure built by the Hefei government in the Nio Park. But this is the planning of the Nio Park, which may be different from the actual execution in the future. We need to look at this step by step. Nio is going to be a very important player in this Nio Park, and this Nio Park is also going to contribute to the long-term development of Nio, because we believe if we can attract all the talents and consolidate all the resources in this Nio Park, it will be beneficial for Nio's development. Just like what happened in Anting in our Shanghai headquarters. Nio was the first company or innovative company to build the offices in the Shanghai headquarters in Anting, and then many other companies followed suit to join in this offices area in Anting. So we believe if we can consolidate all the resources together with our partners in this new park. This is also going to help us to improve the operational efficiency, including our internal efficiency. Because if you imagine that we have all the people working in the same place, including our manufacturing teams, R&D teams, and they are also living in the same place. This is going to help us to significantly improve the operational efficiency of the company.
另外讲外部效率，我举一个例子，比如说我们现在电池的工厂和这个规划中电池的工厂和整车的工厂是在一起的。那么电池生产完了以后，直接就可以通过这个传输带直接到整车的工厂。我们座椅的工厂也都是按照这样一个方式去规划的。那光电池的工厂建设在一起这件事情，从一个物流的费用上来讲的话，这一件事就差不多能减少每块电池能减少$100的左右的一个物流费用。那其实这是非常大的一笔钱。如果我们考虑假设它是这个100万辆的这个规模的话，这就是非常大的这个一笔钱。所以类似于这样的一些效率提升吧，我们觉得都是非常有意义的。
Then the next important factor which we consider is the external operational efficiency. According to the current planning of the new park, we will have the battery factory together with the vehicle factory. Then it means that after we finish the production of the battery packs, we can ship directly to the vehicle factory in a very short distance. And that's the same with the seat factory in the future. So it means that we can save significant logistic costs. For example, the battery logistic cost is around $100 per battery pack. So imagine in the future the volume is going to be 1 million units. Then this is going to be a huge saving in terms of the logistic cost, and this is also going to help us to improve the overall operational efficiency.
对这个合作的方式，我们在规划中的第二个工厂的合作的方式还是会是制造合作的一个方式。我们会 focus 在这个制造的工艺这个供应链还有包括质量的控制。那么我们也会进行一部分的设备的投资，但是我们并不会去购买土地，并不会去建设厂房，我们也不会去在工人的 recruit 这个招聘工人，我们会通过和 JAC 合作的这个公司 JAC 的这个Nio 的这个合作的公司，仍然会和 JAC 有这样的一个合作，在工厂的日常运营和这个工人方面、工人管理方面，还是会通过这个去进行合作。
When it comes to the operation model of the cooperation model of the second factory, we will continue to focus on the manufacturing cooperation. It means that we will still focus on the manufacturing processes, technologies, the quality, and the operations of our plants. And we will invest in some dedicated equipment for Nio, but we're not going to invest on building the actual factories. In terms of the operators in the second factory, this will be managed by the joint venture between JAC and Nio. The name is Jianglai, and this joint venture is going to be responsible for the overall operation and management of the operators in the plant.
第二个问题 LFP， 当然特斯拉还有别的一些公司，他们现在在主要的产品都在用这个 LFP 的话呢，有它的优势这个是毫无疑问的，特别是成本方面。但是如果它在低温情况下的续航不去解决的话，低温下的性能不去解决的话，那我觉得这个是对用户体验来说影响，冬天的用户体验影响是非常大的。我们认为这个在低温下的这个 LFP 的这种性能，如果表现如果能够解决的话那这个是一个前提吧，这是用 LFP 的一个前提。
The next question is about the LFP battery pack. Yes, many companies, including Tesla, are using the LFP battery pack. Of course, there are some inherent advantages of the LFP battery pack. A very important one is the cost. But there are also some weaknesses and shortcomings with this technology or form factor. For example, the performance of the battery pack in low temperature. This is going to significantly affect the user experience, especially during the winter. If we can solve the performance bottleneck under low temperature, I believe it should be the right timing and the right choice for us to use LFP battery pack and form factor.
Thank you, Min. Next question.
Our next question comes from the line of Lei Wang from CICC. Please ask your question.
Good morning. This is Wang Lei speaking. I would say it is beyond our expectation to see the vehicle margin above 20%. So definitely congratulations to the team. I think most of my question has been properly answered. I only have one follow-up question regarding the collaborations with Sinopec Group on the swap stations. So will Sinopec burden some of the capex investments in the second generations of the stations, or will Sinopec share some of the revenues as well? So I'll translate my question. 主要是想问一下和中石化的那个战略合作，因为我们的那个二代发电站是建在他们的那个加油站里面嘛，所以这种 capex 投入他们会分担一部分嘛，然后这个以后的这个收入我们是只给一个租金，还是说我们会按照车辆计费的这个 revenue 给他们去分一部分？主要是这个问题，谢谢。
谢谢王磊。我们和中石化这个合作的话呢，当然这个是会逐步的深入啊，但目前我们的合作还是相对比较简单的，就是我们主要是用它的这个地方的资源啊。当然，因为每个加油站也有运营人员嘛，那从长期来讲的话呢，他们的这个运营人员对我们的换电站的运营那我们会在这方面也会进行一些合作。我们目前不涉及到这种根据收入啊、根据分成啊这样的一些模式，目前还没有。
Thank you for your question. Of course, in the future, we're going to deepen our cooperation with Sinopec, but for now, our cooperation is quite simple. Basically, we utilize their site and the location resources. In the gas stations, of course, they will need to have a service personnel, so we believe this is also an opportunity for us to work together to share the service resources. But at this moment, we do not have any revenue sharing mechanisms between Nio and the Sinopec.
谢谢王磊。
Thanks, William.
Next question.
Our next question comes from the line of Edison Yu from Deutsche Bank. Please ask your question.
Thank you, and congratulations on the quarter. Two questions from the competitive angle, sort of. First, coming out of the Shanghai Auto Show, obviously we saw a lot of product, a lot of developments. Has this influenced or sped up your target about bringing in a mass market brand into the market, so a non-Nio brand? Is that effort kind of been accelerated, or any sort of change to those kind of plans for going forward? And then second question, it seems like a lot of automakers now are also potentially considering doing chips themselves. I think it's reported that Nio has considered doing that as well. What's your latest thinking on kind of moving away from NVIDIA and doing the chips yourself as well, or designing the chips yourself? Thank you.
好，谢谢。谢谢 Edison。那我们从竞争的角度来讲的话，当然我其实也看了，基本上看了这个值得看的所有的车型嘛。那对于我来说，对于我自己来说最 impressive 的车型是这个是50宏光的那个就它的那个宝骏的那个这个叫 Kiwi EV 它是一个差不多1万多美金售价的车，我觉得那个是非常 impressive。对， 所以其实从这里面我们也能看，就是能去看的话，在 massive market 的话，确确实实有很多公司推出了一些非常好的产品啊。这个我前面其实也讲了，这看中国的这个智能电动汽车产业的这个创新的能力是非常强的啊。那我们对整个电动汽车的普及速度啊，我们是非常有信心的。但 honestly 讲，在 premium 的 market 里边没有特别让我 impressive 的产品。
So thank you for your question, Edison. From the competition perspective, I checked out all the possible competitors and their new models. So to be honest, the most impressive one is from Wuling Hongguang. Their sub-brand Baojun, they have a model called TV EV. For the mass market, we believe there are many new companies launching their new products. Just like I mentioned, in the China smart EV industry, the innovation capability has been quite strong. So we are quite confident about the popularization and the adoption of the smart EVs in the future. But in the premium sector right now, we don't actually see any strong competitors.
那在第二个问题就是整个关于芯片啊等等这方面的研发，那应该这么说，就是从智能电动汽车产业链的这个价值的角度来讲，肯定是往软件、往芯片、往智能硬件方面去转移的啊。那从一个长远的角度来讲的话，我相信这个会，如果是头部的公司吧，头部的公司应该会在智能硬件方面的投入啊，都会持续的深入啊。当然，我们目前还没有可以对外说的计划。当然，我们大家应该知道，我们在研发方面的投入决心还是非常的坚决的。我们会围绕着自动驾驶，围绕着这个整个智能电动汽车的一个全站的技术啊，去进行一个持续的、长期的投入。
The second question is about the research and development of the chipset. In the smart electric vehicle industry, we believe the industry chain is going to move towards chipset software and other smart technologies. For the long term, the top leaders is going to deepen their investments in research and development of the smart hardwares. I believe this is the common understanding of the industry. At this moment, we do not have any specific plans that we can disclose to the public or share with the public. But I believe it is quite obvious to everyone that Nio has always been very decisive in investing in the research and development of new technologies. We are determined to build our full stack capabilities surrounding the smart electric vehicle technologies, including autonomous driving, and we believe that this is going to build the long-term competitiveness of the company.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
Our next question comes from the line of Paul Gong from UBS. Please ask your question.
Yeah, thanks, Wade, and thanks, everyone. Two questions. The first one is on the R&D, and second one a little bit follow up on the gross margin. On the R&D, I see in this quarter it's actually pretty moderate, even sequentially declined from the 4Q at less than 700 million. I recall last time you said you are going to double down on the R&D activity in 2021 and significantly increase the R&D budget. So can you give us a little bit like update on this strategy, and more importantly, which key areas is going to be the focus for the R&D? Any rough breakdown? How much percentage goes to the vehicle development? What percentage goes to the maybe autonomous driving, etc.? This is my first question. My second question is a little bit follow up on the gross margin. Obviously, this is a pretty decent gross margin for relatively young company like Nio. But in between of this margin versus market share, is it a little bit like overly focused on the margin and a little bit like under focus on the market share? Do you think will you strategically choose to either adding higher specs or kind of making the vehicle more competitive in the market to balance in between of this margin versus market share? And also, how do you think about the rising material cost impacts in the next few quarters? Because some battery makers have indeed mentioned that it's possible for the battery price to go up. I think I caught your comment just now that the 100 kilowatt hours of the battery take about 25% in Q1. What was the new panel take rate in Q1, please? Thank you.
谢谢 Paul。这个 R&D 方面的话是这样，就是确实如果只是从一个数字的角度来讲的话呢，我们确实 Q1 的这个研发的投入的话呢，感觉不是特别的高啊。但是我们确实是大家知道这个车的研发的话呢，它还是跟着产品走的。我们 ET7 的这个量产的工作这个在过程中，所以我们从 Q2 开始的话，跟 ET7 量产相关的，包括测试包括一些外部的合作伙伴的 EDD 的费用这些都会上来所以光 ET7 的话呢，它本身的这个开发费用的这个支出的话呢，从一个财务角度的这个来看的话呢，也是越到量产都会支出的越高。但事实上来讲，我们现在在我们并行开发的产品的数量还是非常多的，因为我们要把我们 NT2 的这个技术要尽快的应用到新的这个细分市场的车型上，所以从 Q2 开始，那么大家能看到研发费用的显著的增加，这个很大一部分是跟这个我们的这个量产的就后续的量产车型这个增加有关系的。那么另外一方面的话呢，我们围绕着自动驾驶，围绕着软件，围绕着这个包括我们的这个全面的 Smart EV 的全面的这种基础技术的投入我们 NT2 的技术，包括我们再下一代的 NT3 的技术的投入，我们都会加速我们的人员也会增加在过去的1季度，我们其实在研发方面的人员增加也很多我们还会持续的增加研发人员，所以在这些基础的技术方面，平台性的技术方面也包括 EBS 这些方面的话，我们其实增加的都是也是非常的快的。所以今年确实就像这个50亿的研发费用要花出去的话，高效的花出去的话也是有挑战的。但是简单来讲，从这个数字大家能看到我们的研发肯定是在提速的。
Thank you for your question, Paul. Regarding the R&D expenses, yes, the R&D expenses in the first quarter is not that high, but this follows the normal pace and the development stages of a vehicle. For example, right now our ET7 is still under research and development. Then it means that starting from the second quarter, we're going to see increase in R&D expenses related with the testing cost and the EDD cost together with our suppliers. The ET7 R&D expenses will increase gradually as it gets closer to the mass production. At the same time, we're also developing multiple products in our pipeline because we would like to make sure we can apply the NT 2.0 technology to more products in different segments in a faster speed. So starting from the second quarter, we are going to see some ramp up of the R&D expenses. This will be mainly driven by the research and development of other products in the pipeline. Just like I mentioned, we are determined to develop the autonomous driving full stack capabilities, the software capabilities, and the smart electric vehicle technologies. We will accelerate the development of the new technology platform 2.0 and the new technology platform 3.0. At the same time, we're also ramping up our R&D personnel. In the past first quarter, the R&D personnel in the company has significantly increased, and we believe this will continue to increase in the following quarters. We have also increased our investment in terms of the R&D resources in the platform technologies, including EDS or the electric powertrain. In this year, it will be quite challenging for us to efficiently and effectively spend the 5 billion RMB for the R&D expenses, but we're quite confident that we can achieve our objective and improve our R&D capabilities at a very efficient manner.
对，第二个问题关于这个到底是GM 还是 market share 这个之间到底怎么取舍？那当然，这个从一个企业运营的角度来讲的话，合理的 GM 合理的 gross margin 这个是需要的。我们认为现在的毛利水平应该说是和我们应该其实按理讲是比我们预期的要好一些啊。那当然，这个我们呢，因为我们说过我们是确实是不降价的，我们愿意把这个这样的一些 margin 更好的用到服务的领域里面去包括我们的换电的设施，包括我们的一些用 community 相关的一些用户传译。那我们在这方面的话呢，肯定有更多的资金可以去进行这样的投入。我们并不认为这个 market share 这个我们对 market share 还是我希望大家有一个把它一定要放在不同的 level 的这个里边去看。比如说就像我们说法拉利的 market share 保时捷的 market share 去和这个50宏光去比 market share， 这个我觉得是不一样的，这是汽车行业的特点。那 Nio 肯定 care 的是我们在 premium 这个 market 里边的这样的一个 market share 那这个是非常重要的。我想有的 brand 呢，它会不断降价，其实它混淆了一个 brand 是有在汽车领域是有区间的。这就是为什么 Porsche 它虽然卖不到30万辆车，但是它的这个整个的这个利润可能占整个 Volkswagen 的这个比例是非常高的40%多，可能是差不多是来自于这个。所以我觉得对这件事情我们还有一个更长远的思考一个很 long term 的一个思考 brand community 这是一个非常需要很好的去维护他们所以我不觉得通过降价去增加所谓的 market share 是一个好的方法事实上可能也达不到这个目标那所以我们认为到了一定的 margin 以后，更好的方式是把产品做得更好如果你有 margin 的空间，你当然可以把产品做得更好，可以把基础设施和服务做得更好，这个是我们的一个长期的战略。从全球的 premium market 的角度来讲差不太多是接近1000万辆的这样的一个市场那我们今天还只有10%几的份额，所以我们还有非常大的成长空间所以这个是我们关于长期的market share 的一个理解。当然大众市场怎么进入那这是另外一个战略问题massive market 怎么进入，但是我们肯定不会用 Nio 这个 brand 进到大众市场这是 100% 的可以确定的事情。
The second question is about the balance between gross margin and the market share. Of course, for any company, if we want to have a sustainable operations and development, we need to maintain a reasonable gross margin. For the current gross margin, yes, it's better than our expectation, but we have emphasized again and again that we're not going to cut the price, and we would like to leverage our margin to invest more on user service, including the power infrastructures and also the user community. For the market share, I believe we need to look at the market share in different market segments. For example, it's not possible for us to compare the market share of a Ferrari and Porsche in their market segment with the market share of 50宏光 in the mass market segment. So for Nio, our focus is the market share of the premium market. We don't want to have the same strategy like other brands that just cut their price from time to time, because we believe this is going to hurt the brand image and the users. For example, Porsche probably only sells around 300,000 units, but they contribute 40% of the gross margin of the Volkswagen net profit of the Volkswagen Group. So we believe if we want to build our market share in the premium segment, we need to devote more resources and energy to manage the brand and the user community. Our focus is not going to increase to cut the price of our product and then to increase the market share, because even if you cut the price of the product, probably in the end you still cannot improve the market share. So we believe after we reach a reasonable margin, then we can use this margin to improve our product, our services, and the infrastructures for our users. This will be our long-term strategy. In the global premium market right now, the market volume is around 10 million, and we only accounted for a very small share. So it means that there's still a huge room for us to grow in the future. For the mass market, this will be a different story, and the entry of the mass market will require a different strategy. But what I can say right now with 100% certainty is we're not going to use a new brand to enter the mass market. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
Next question.
Thank you very much.
Our next question comes from the line of Evelyn Zhang from Daiwa. Please ask your question.
Hello, actually it's Calvin from Daiwa. So I have two questions about company. So first of all, I want to know, I noticed that you have a kind of a Norway launching in Norway conference next week. So I want to know, would there be any other overseas expansion plan that you can share with us? This is the first question. The second question is that can I know how, because what we know is that the raw material costs and also auto chip costs are all increasing. Do we expect like a month-on-month or even week-on-week increase affecting your component price? What's the trend, or how fast it is accelerating? Thank you.
Kevin, this is Stephen. Sure. First, Norway is the first stop for our long-term globalization strategy. But for the May 6th conference call, we will still focus on the Norwegian market. Just for information, actually in March, we already set up our national sales company in Norway, and we also have already built up a local team who will take charge of our local operation and service. And in the end, actually we already select the location for our new house in Oslo. And for more details about the Norwegian market, please do join our May 6th media conference to get more details. Thank you.
然后那个关于那个成本的，就是现在的成本的上升。Raw materials cost 会不会上升？
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the raw material cost we expect there will be some increase in the coming quarters, but compared with the overall selling price, I think the cost can be well controlled and won't have big impact to our gross profit margin. Yeah.
也，但就是一方面的话，我们有一些零部件常规的降本，但是确实也有一些像最近大宗商品的一些，包括 chip 的一些价格的上升。但总体上来讲的话，我们节约的这一部分还是比上升那部分是要多不少的，所以总体上我们的这个 BOM cost 还是会总体来说还是会下降的。
On one hand, we have some routine cost reductions. On the other hand, there are some cost increases, especially in terms of the chipsets recently. But overall speaking, the saving is bigger than the cost increases. So we believe the bill of material cost will continue to go down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question.
Our next question comes from the line of Vijay Rakesh from Mizuho. Please ask your question.
Hi, William and Stephen. Good quarter and guide here. I just had a question on the longer term. When you look on your partnership with Sinopec, how do you expect them to roll out their stations? I know you have a 500 battery swap station target, but any thoughts on how Sinopec would be rolling out their 5,000 battery swap stations? Thanks.
Thank you, VJ。对，Sinopec 它是宣布他们会建5000个充换电的设施在他们的这个加油站里边。当然他们也不光是跟我们一家这个合作，他们也不光是建这个 swap station， 他们也会有一些 charging 的 station。那所以当然这并不都是跟我们合作的当然我们当然希望这个合适的情况下，我们能够这个在里面多部署一点。但我们也不光是和 Sinopec 合作，我们其实有非常多的 partner， 也有一些全国性的，也有一些 local 的。我们在这个换电站的这个场地方面的话是有足够的供应的。
Thank you, Vijay, for your question. Yes, Sinopec announced that they will build 5,000 swap and charging facilities in their gas stations. But Nio is not the only partner working together with Sinopec, and they are not just only going to build the swap stations in the gas stations. They will also build the charging facilities. Of course, we hope to deploy more charging and swapping facilities from Nio in the gas stations. But at the same time, we also have many other partners, both locally and nationally. So we believe the site resources will not be a big issue for us.
Thank you, Vijay.
And also on the solid-state battery roadmap, on your own solid-state battery roadmap, can you give us an update? When do you see that in production or test? That's it. Thank you.
现在总体上我们的进展都还是顺利的就是按照我们的计划在进展。
Overall speaking, the current process and the testing and the production of the solid-state battery is on track.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Moderator, we need to conclude our conference call today. It has been extended, and thanks for all the great questions asked by the analysts. Operator?
Hi, operator. We would like to conclude today's conference call.
Certainly. As there are no further questions now, I'd like to turn the call back over to the company for closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you once again for joining us today. If you have further questions, please feel free to contact the Nio's Investor Relations team through the contact information provided on our website. This concludes the conference call. You may now disconnect your line. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's conference call. Thank you for